The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. Hello and welcome to this week's edition of The Art Beat on KLZK FM 105.7. I'm your host, Peter Martins, coming to you as always from the Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University. And I am here today with a special guest, Ghi Fremaux from the School of Art. Hello.
Hello, Peter.
Good to see you today. Ghi is here as Associate Professor of Art, does a lot of painting, and also is Associate Director in the School of Art for Academic Affairs. And I wanted to talk to you today, Ghi, about something we've been talking about several times on this show this semester, which is the commerce back and forth from the Talkington College down to this institution in Mexico City, CENART. Mm-hmm. We've had big music group. We've had a couple theater dance people down there, and we've already heard from one of your colleagues, Clint Bergio-Erickson, several weeks ago about this art show and some other visual art-based things that happened down at CENART, and this was kind of the final thing, I guess I would say, of the semester in terms of this collaboration. So it's great to have you here and kind of give us the recap of that whole event. I'm assuming you enjoyed your time in Mexico City, first of all.
I think it would be difficult not to, yeah. Mexico City is an extraordinary place and is so storied as sort of, an arts capital of the world. And so, yes, I can say quickly and without reservation that we had a wonderful time. Yeah, we were anticipating having an opening reception for this curated exhibition of student work, which assembled works from both our undergraduate and graduate student bodies at the School of Art. That was ultimately postponed.
Okay.
And I believe the show opened just this week. But originally we were making this journey so that we could all be there to inaugurate the show and greet the public and celebrate the students. But a group of students will be traveling back down to CENART in January to have that very experience.
While their works are still on display in the galleries down there. Okay. That's great. We did also talk to Joe Arredondo many weeks ago about the kind of the logistics behind setting something like this up. And getting a jazz band down there is certainly a logistical challenge, but getting several works of art, many of which are large and or breakable, is another challenge as well, right? So the works, this student exhibition is currently set up at this institution in Mexico City.
Yes, and we're really looking forward to seeing footage from the show. It's an expansive show. The gallery itself is really beautiful and it's spacious and kind of an ideal dynamic white cube space. And yes, when originally Clint and I were embarking upon the work of co-curating the show, we were looking at the floor plans of that gallery and deliberately selected some very sizable works that we knew could hold those very ample walls. But this ultimately did bite us in a way because the shipment of works of that size proved to be difficult. But they've made it, and Clint really piloted the work of the exhibition design, exhibition layout with input from me and our other colleagues. But he really refined sort of the vision for the show, and if it looks anything like his plans, I'm sure it's really gorgeous. So I'm excited for the students to see it.
Nice. So what array of works, what types of works are down there?
So we sought to represent all of our studio disciplines as well as graphic design in the selection of works. That was kind of one of our imperatives, or one of the charges that we gave ourselves at the outset of the project, was to really show a diversity of works and give an array of students the opportunity to be seen internationally and to log this really exciting exhibition opportunity on their CV. And so we have painting, printmaking, photo, jewelry design and metalsmithing, sculpture and ceramics, as well as graphic design, as I mentioned. And it's chiefly a graduate show. We sourced most of the work from our MFA cohort, but we also have some undergraduate work there. We have an undergraduate student representing jewelry design and metalsmithing, and then we've got a number of graphic design students who were all involved in the production of 6 works collaboratively. So I think it was teams of 3 students, that worked together to make those.
Boy, so the jewelry transportation, I'm sure, is challenging in one way. But what was the heaviest thing that you had to?
That's
get down there?
Excellent question. Heaviest. So we have a student, Courtney June, who is a third-year MFA candidate in ceramics, whose practice is really diverse in itself. She is both a maker of these really beautiful vessels, sort of in the, what one might conventionally imagine as sort of the work of a ceramicist. But then she also has undertaken some sort of experimental creative research. The piece that we included from Courtney is sort of twofold. It's comprised of a video projection in which Courtney is jumping rope, maybe I've said that incorrectly, just jumping rope on an enormous heap of clay, and she's sort of enclosed by these translucent shower curtains, and it's this really intense athletic sort of feat that she's performing. Yeah. And when we did the studio visit with Courtney, we both, we identified that this was a work that Clint and I were both interested in showing. And then as we were in her studio, I noticed there were quite a lot of really big sort of scraps of clay that hadn't yet been fired, but had hardened and sort of calcified into these sort of amorphous pieces. And I asked if that was the clay that she had been jumping on in this performance, and she confirmed that it was. And Clint and I were both expressing enthusiasm about how cool it would be if we could have both the video projection, which is, of course, immaterial and on the wall, and a documentation of what happened, but then also have these sort of remnants, many of which have like the impression of her foot, and sort of show the the
material
signs.
Traces of the
precisely.
Okay.
Yes.
Nice.
And so Courtney immediately set to work like firing these, and they attained this really beautiful color through the firing process. So basically we were shipping one crate that was just full of these huge like hunks of clay.
Chunks of footprinted clay.
Indeed. I think that would be unrivaled as the heaviest thing that had to go to Mexico.
Wow. Yes. Well, I mean, at least the breakability was probably lower.
Right. Yeah. Though each one was carefully, packed, soft packed.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow, fascinating. Okay. We'll see if that ever makes it back to Lubbock, right? That same crate. Oh, goodness. So you were down there as one of the co-curators, I think you mentioned with Clinton Bergio Erickson and
Gilberto Corona Garcia, assistant professor of graphic design, sort of joined the curatorial team after Clint and I had made the initial selection of works from the studio-based programs. And then Gil he not only contributed a lot to the curatorial process and the vision, but he also he contributed so much to all of our translation needs for the catalog.
Oh, sure.
We have a
Nice.
beautiful catalog and essay that Gil was kind enough to translate, and other materials, things for my own kind of visiting artist workshop that I did while we were in Mexico City. Gil just gave so much of his time so graciously to the translational needs of the project.
Yeah, that you raise a good point there. I think that we think of the job of artists and its making, right, and creating, and of course that's true. But the curatorial challenge or whatever job is not insignificant, and especially when you're crossing these cultural and language barriers and such as well. So that's more work than I think a lot of us imagine. We think things just get magically hung up on walls and set on pedestals and such for us to ponder.
That's right, and that should be how it feels on the receiving end.
Okay.
I think you shouldn't have to, I don't know, have your mind sort of derailed, I guess, into thinking about all of the work that goes into mounting an exhibition of that kind. But we certainly know now, and I think at the very start of the whole project, we were just so excited, and we'd seen what the School of Music had done with CENART, and that was, hugely exciting. And so getting the opportunity was like we all just sort of seized on it, also with some perhaps naivete about just how heavy the lift would be, literally and figuratively. Yeah.
Well, it was a learning process all around. Yes. Okay. Great. Now, you just mentioned a second ago that you did some things specifically with students down at the CENART, some sort of interaction, master class, that sort of thing.
Yes. I felt like this was sort of a gift that our dean, Martin Camacho, gave to me. What I mean by that is that Dean Camacho had kind of coordinated, or he'd initiated a dialogue with the staff at CENART, and I think sort of proposed to them that I could perhaps be available to present a workshop or a master class, some sort of arts-based activity or presentation with the students at La Esmeralda, which is the school of art that's there. And because he, made that possible, I worked with their staff and sort of devised and ultimately delivered a painting demonstration, I would say, there at La Esmeralda. So I am just incredibly grateful to Dr. Camacho for enabling me to do that. And it made it so that my time in Mexico City was both, about kind of the students and their work and their immersion in the culture of Mexico City. And then I also got to engage with this place and
Sure.
with these people in this other way. Yeah.
Okay. What sort of artistic, I don't know, crossovers or synergies or whatever, we were as a group of music researchers down in Brazil, for instance, this past summer. Just it kind of opened our eyes to an entire world of activity in our own area that we weren't really even aware of. Did you notice things or kind of experience things down there where you're like, wow, there's more similarity, or wow, they're doing just these amazing different things that we could learn from as well?
That's a great question. We got to have this really comprehensive tour of La Esmeralda and the whole CENART grounds and see all the studios. And I think there were both, a lot of commonalities, and then we were also recognizing offerings that they have that we do not have. Things like stone carving in their sculpture facilities. It's a big deal. Like that was really kind of wonderful to encounter in those spaces and to see the ways that artists have to. Each medium, of course, requires you to do a different kind of thinking, about form and material and the resistance of the material and how to manipulate it. And so that was just kind of stunning to me. And in other ways, I think, I think we share a lot of values in terms of what, an art education should look like. And
Sure.
I think there's creative research overlap as well.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, we don't do a lot of stone carving.
No.
Do we? Oh, that's
And
too
I
bad.
wonder if we ever did. I don't actually know, in the history of the School of Art, if that's been one of the skills that we've taught. But I happened to go to a school when I was younger, in middle and high school, that did offer stone carving and positioned it very strategically, sort of in sort of the thinking about how the mind and the hand evolve together and so I think it spoke to me. I wonder if anyone else, took note of the stone carving in the way that I did.
Sure. Well, and I imagine that's one of those kind of place-based approaches to art, right? Like I mean, I don't know everything about Lubbock, but I don't think we've got marble quarries, kind of right nearby, or even granite quarries or whatever.
That's a great.
But we do have a
point.
lot of clay.
Mm-hmm. We do.
So.
We are rich in clay out here, and our people do tremendous things with it. That's really true, and the one of the things that I think made me especially excited to see them offering this kind of sculpture is that when you come into the school, there's sort of this procession of stone sculptures as you're coming in, mostly animals and these really beautiful pieces, and so that's visible on the grounds, and it's part of just the general way that people are conceiving of visual art and what it can be. And so it would follow naturally that this would be part of, their offerings in the education of their studio-based students.
Sure. Well, that all sounds like a fantastic experience, and we're happy that our students have their work available to the public and the art crowds down in Mexico City for these several weeks here. And I want to thank you for your comments and thoughts today, joining us on the Art Beat. Associate Professor in the School of Art, Ghi Fremaux. We will see you around.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Peter.
Bye-bye. The Art Beat, a weekly program putting you in touch with artists and arts events from the J.T. and Margaret Talkington College of Visual and Performing Arts at Texas Tech University.